control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Feel your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye with the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us and tuning in at spacedoutradio.com and on Spreaker. As once again we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Friday night, early Saturday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at Spaced Out Radio, we are broadcasting 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. That's because we want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the supernatural, paranormal, conspiratorial, ufological, extraterrestrial, and so much more. Like our music, head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, to listen and find out more about the guitar god himself, Ron "Bumblefoot" THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. Check out a couple of his music videos by clicking on his banner. Also, you can check us out on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we say hello to everyone listening in on the High Plains Talk Radio Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, along with our fans at Facebook, at Euphoria Chronicles, Chronicles of the Unknown, Forest Moon Paranormal, and our flagship chat room, the SOR Space Travelers. Hey, Space Travelers, you can now head to the Spaced Out Radio website and sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. Remember, it's only $5 a month, and this is what we're giving you. You get access to a private section on our website. You get to take part in private group interviews. Your name automatically goes into monthly prize draws that happen at the end of the month, the next one being August 28th, and so much more. Unlike the other guys who just give you access to their archives, no, we're giving back to you. So sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club today. You can also read my latest blog on a UFO landing that I saw happen in April of 2014. And you can read up on the SOR Spacewire from Spaced Out Radio's news director, Eric Markham. Tonight's show is brought to you by PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body in person or at a distance. Rivulet Reiki and Readings. Try some Reiki today if you've never had it. It's a great experience. The new Agora newspaper is the official paper of this show, and the iTunes app Spirit Story Box, the official ghost hunting app of Spaced Out Radio. The first Friday of the month is reserved for extraterrestrial talk here on SOR. Our resident alien expert, R. Keith Anders, is back for another great show to break down his lifetime of knowledge in dealing with what he calls the off-worlders. Born and raised in a military family here in Canada, Keith has been in contact since a young age when he survived a near-death experience. Since then, his contact with extraterrestrials and his personal intuitiveness have been pretty much what dictated his life path. Although controversial, Keith maintains he has been in contact with more than 30 different extraterrestrial species. His knowledge isn't to put fear into people, but more so, it's an understanding that we're not alone. It's the government that is covering up life's second biggest mystery next to life after death. Keith has seen it and done it all with ETs. He knows the good from the bad. He knows their ships, but there's still some questions as to why they're coming. Tonight, as we always do, we'll look into providing those answers to your questions about why those from another world, are doing here and visiting Earth. Good experiences or bad, there's some things we just need to learn, and how contact happens. Now, this is how this show works. We do not take phone calls. We do take questions in one of the 2 chat rooms following us, so you do have to sign in for the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker or the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. If you have a question, please type it in capital letters so myself or Keith can read it and get it on the air for you. Our Keith Andrews, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Hard to believe it's already been a month.
Oh, this year is going by incredibly fast, but thanks so much for having me back, and thanks again to all of your listeners. I'll tell you, last month was just nuts for the amount of activity we had going on.
Oh, yeah. You know what, Keith? And that's why you're one of our more popular episodes that we do on a monthly basis, and that's why we continue this, is because your interaction with the audience in real time is something that doesn't happen a lot of in radio today. So thank you for being a part of it, and I think we've constructed something over the last year and a bit here that's a little bit different and a little bit special than what other people are doing out there. So I appreciate you getting involved as much as you do.
Well, not a problem there. It's an intriguing journey. And, some of the questions that come up are just bizarre. I call it bizarre because you usually don't get that intelligent a question out of people, and the audience here does seem to have a real grasp on what is, if you will, real and what isn't.
They really do, and you know what? They keep us on our toes. They keep us grounded. They make sure that, that we ask intelligent questions because they're asking intelligent questions. And, it is a breath of fresh air getting to do this on a nightly basis for me. And, for you coming in here once a month, it's a treat for you because usually this place is packed up with you here and they want their questions answered. And by God, you give it to them. Sometimes we've got to go overtime with it to make sure we get all those questions in.
Yeah, that was the fun part last week. It's just a good thing that we actually were able to,
Absolutely. We're allowed to do that. That's the beauty of our format. We can do that. One of the things that I wanted to tell you, Keith, is how I was bitching about not having a good UFO sighting for a long time? I actually had a very good one just 2 nights ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I was on the phone after the show with our Spaced Out Radio SOR Spacewire news director, Eric Markham. Him and I talk pretty much after every show. And up here in the wilderness where I live, we had a very, very clear, warm night. Stars were everywhere, and I'm a stargazer, and as we're drawing closer to the Perseid meteor shower, I like to go outside and see if I can see anything cool in the night sky, just like everyone else. And This airliner flew by, and literally about 2-3 minutes after the airliner flew by, I'm looking to the northeast, just kind of scanning the stars, and all of a sudden I get a bright white flash. And I said, "Can you flash for me again?" And guess what happened? It flashed again. I said, "Wonderful, thank you." And Eric's on the phone. And I'm telling him, I said, "Dude, I got a UFO here." And I asked if it would flash again. And it did. And it was stagnant. It was staying in the same spot because there was a couple of bright stars around it. And I was trying to measure it to those bright stars to see if it was moving or not.
Right.
I all of a sudden, after about the 4th or 5th flash that it gave me on my command, I said, "Can you head this way, please?" and it flashed. Next thing I know, it started moving. The white flash turned to a red flash, and by golly, Keith, it came about 2-3 minutes later. It was over top of my house flying by.
Did you happen to get I realize you got the light, but did you happen to get a structural configuration to work with?
You know what? I was looking for that in the sky because it was dark enough where I figured I could get that, and I could not. And a lot of people who are skeptical of things like that will say, oh, you were looking at a satellite that was flashing. Wrong. Satellites do not have lights on them.
They also don't, they do have one red one. That's how you can track them. But the fact of the matter is they don't change directions, nor do they change cyclic pattern of the lighting.
Nor do they stop, and then when you ask them to come over, do they come over?
No, they really don't. I mean, I was watching one a few years back. I was watching one, and we thought it was potentially just a satellite, until it doubled back on itself, and then all of a sudden took off at a 90-degree right angle.
Yeah, that always seems to happen and trip people out when that happens. You know,
yeah, I kind of looked at that and went, "Yeah, if that was a satellite, the telemetry is incredible."
Exactly. And here's the thing with the satellites. If you stare up at the stars enough, you will see satellites. You will learn their speed because they all travel at the same speed. It's when you have something that is moving at a different speed with no sound, and in this case, it was pretty much, because it was the height of the satellites, okay? But when it is changing color, so it went from bright white to a red, and by the time it got over to my house, it was like an orangish white. I'll tell you why I believe it was a UFO. When I had
that wasn't enough.
Well, but Keith, I know you're going to believe me because you know I'm a no BS guy. But every now and again, there's going to be people who listen to this show on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Their BS meter is going to go off.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And you're going to have the critics of the skeptics or the non-believers. And, I get hammered for it. I'm not going to lie. I do. But I can tell you this. In my latest blog at spacedoutradio.com, I wrote about the UFO landing that I witnessed in April of 2014. And the third time after I had asked that ship to turn its lights on for me, and it did. And then it turned them off after about 30 seconds. What happened then was, it started flashing me on the ground. Okay? So after it turned its main lights off, it would it flickered them on and off, on and off, on and off, about 10 times before they went off for good.
Right.
And the funny part about it was, to me, Mrs. Spaced Out Radio and myself, when we lived in that area, okay, of Mission, British Columbia, we actually had a lot of those strobing type sightings over our home. And when I saw that on the ground, it convinced me that I was not looking at a aeroplane. I was not looking at a satellite. I was not looking at something from here. It was kind of like their way of signaling me, hey, Dave, we got you. Good to have you back, kind of thing. Good to see you again, or something along those lines. As weird as that may sound. But this whole field is weird. So when I got this guy for literally 3-4 minutes, hanging out, and, flying across the sky to signal me, it was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty cool.
Right. Oh, yeah, it absolutely is. It's kind of trippy when you really start to realize just how much is going on. Mm-hmm. The hard part for most people is that there is such a conflict, if you will, between people wanting to know what's going on and people fearing knowing what's going on. And it's kind of a cross between the two.
Absolutely it is.
See, people keep talking about the fear and, about all the terrible things that are happening, and we got into it pretty deep last month. But the reality behind it is this. When, fear is a natural reaction to anything living. The trick is not a question of whether or not you fear what's going on. The question is whether or not you have the courage to deal with it, in spite of the fear. Now, the media, and when I talk about the media, I'm not talking about just one country. I'm talking about any form of communication of relaying mass information in any country. When you're dealing with the media, when you're dealing with with the political system, the priesthood, even the pedagogical system, the educational system, it's all based on trying to keep everybody. I don't know if the shall we say powers that be are trying to keep people on edge, but their method of doing things right now is keeping people on edge. Primarily because of the fact that people know, people talk about when are we going to get full disclosure? Why are they here? What are they up to? They're here to conquer the world. Well, let's get that one out of the way, because mankind still owns the way, still is the dominant controlling factor on this planet. And that being said, especially when you get to know the different races, it's a guarantee they're not trying to conquer the world, because the world would already be conquered. Let's face it, if you're trying to conquer a world, doesn't matter what race, if you're trying to conquer a country, you don't do it by staying hidden. You come right out and go, we're now in charge. And that's one of the biggest things that people have to look at, or at least it would be wise to look at, is, people go, well, why don't they show themselves? They're trying to conquer us. Well, if they were trying to conquer, does it not make sense that people would be, that the off-worlders or the ancient races would show up a little bit more frequently to say, hey, we really are this powerful? Take a look at any war in history that mankind has had. They do so, and this is just standard rules of war, if you will, or standard thinking in war. People turn around, and I will use the term people to include all races. They turn around and they all essentially think the same way. Okay. Now, Eric in Spreaker has just said if they can cross interstellar space, wiping us off the planet would not be a problem for them. And quite frankly, it really wouldn't. Let's face it. We are traveling inside our solar system. Absolutely. But we have, the biggest weapons we have don't hold a candle to what they've got. And, I keep looking at this and going, we get sidetracked into the issue of, well, they're here to conquer us. And let's be realistic. If they wanted to conquer us, this would have happened centuries ago when it was easier. Now, what we're looking at, though, is trying to, and making headway at making communication lines. But they've got to do it through the individuals. Now, I was talking to you some time back, Dave, about the fact that these guys are watching you. Well, let's face it. I think you made it. You had kind of a confirmation there the other day when, a few days ago, when these guys showed up on your doorstep after so long. Okay. And it simply goes to reiterate or to reinforce the idea that they are paying attention to what's going on. They are listening to the people that are talking, that are actually trying to work things through. But they're not they've gotten past the idea of trying to get the governments to figure out exactly how things are supposed to fit together. One of the biggest challenges that we have to realize is that people are going to react out of fear until they get comfortable with it. Now, one thing I keep encouraging people to do, in spite of the ridicule, and I know what that means, went through enough of it growing up, still go through it today, but if people don't speak up because they're afraid of being ridiculed, frankly, that is one of the things that keeps it hidden, that keeps people questioning why they don't show. Well, think of it this way. Bearing in mind that the off-worlders have similar problems about not liking getting shot at, if you're afraid to talk about your interaction with them, how fearful are people going to be about physically having them show up in your neighborhood? Now, for me, it's a little bit different. I had the, shall we say, unpleasant experience of being abducted as a child and going through some pretty horrendous tests that weren't just taking blood samples and skin samples. Okay, they were doing stress tests on bones and then putting them back together. How far can this thing bend, or what kind of an arc can your arm go to before it finally breaks? Okay, and rest assured, anesthetic was not one of their choices for doing the testing. So when I talk about this issue of talk to the people around you, especially people that at least are showing some semblance of acceptance of it, that is how acceptance of the whole situation comes to light. We've got so much built-in fear that people just don't know how to deal with it. And in simplest terms, the media across the board, and bear in mind, this is not just the media on Earth. This is also the communication lines on the off-world ships about different things that could go wrong. Okay, or about how certain races are a problem. The thing most people don't realize is, yes, the off-worlders have better toys than us, but most of the off-worlders are concerned about the human race, if not fearful of it, not as individuals, but as a unit. Because much as the human race does fight amongst itself, you put a common threat in the middle of it, and they will band together, and this is just the way it goes. That is something that has been absolutely proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. You take a war, and you put a natural disaster in the middle of that war, and the war gets forgotten. People from all sides start looking at trying to help each other. Now, the unfortunate part there is that people haven't figured out that you don't need a war to work together. That's the unfortunate part. So we are looking at getting people aware of what's going on, getting people to realize that this is not just a human problem. The fear that is running around that is causing so much complication is because of lack of understanding, because of lack of accepting that this may not be a case. Well, it's not. Never mind, may not. But just for those skeptics, if you will, this may not be a case of it being they're here to hurt anybody. This may be just a case of they're here to figure it out and to communicate and to get to understand the people on this planet. Okay, as children, we watched, I don't know about you, Dave, but as a child, I used to sit for hours watching anthills, right, and just watching the way they organized. Now, people say ants don't think, and yet they were far more organized than what most humans are. than what most human communities are. And yet, when you take a look at humans, they get phenomenal things accomplished while running apparently around in circles. And that's what makes them a concern to other people, to the off-worlders. One of the biggest things that I do feel we really have to realize is, and I'm only going to touch on this briefly unless it goes sideways again.
Well, let's hold on to that, bud, because we have to get to a commercial.
Oh, okay.
So let's hop out for a commercial break here, and you're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 Mediums and a Large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night and Sunday, we're back to Spaced Out Weekend. My bag is packed. After this show, I head off into the wilderness to find my Zen, my Chi, and maybe some healing for my fingers that I slammed into a car door today. That's kind of sore. But nonetheless, Elizabeth Anglin and James Tyson will be with you on Saturday and Sunday night starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. On Monday, we will also start broadcasting with our new syndicated station, Revolution Radio. It's going to be very fun and exciting. We're going to bring a whole new audience to this ball game as well. So be prepared. It's going to be a lot of fun as we expand into the universe. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It equals out to about $5 a month. You can read my latest blog and the blogs of our other talented writers like Robert Rose, Eric Markham, Elizabeth Anglin, Corrine DeWinter. You can also check out our music master, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses. He is the official music of the mighty SOR. Just so you know, SOR Space Travelers, our password tonight is incarceration. Incarceration has been set by Bill Cardwell, and the reason? I'm back in Facebook jail. Apparently, you are not allowed to tag people in your own room all too often, so I am in Facebook jail for commenting to my own listeners that we are about to go on the air, as I do every night. Gotta love social media sometimes. Tonight we are talking with our resident ET expert, R. Keith Andrews, with the ET Connection, which happens the first Friday of every month. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you very much, and it really is a pleasure being here.
I want to get to a question from Chris in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. He is asking, Keith, do you recognize and accept the reality of a spiritual or non-perceptible world behind the material physical cosmos? If so, do you also accept that all of these physical beings are going through different forms of spiritual consciousness evolution from what we experience?
Well, the answer to that is a little complicated. Do I accept it? Absolutely. There is very definitively a spiritual and, to most people, non-perceptible world, simply because people don't relax enough to actually see it. This doesn't mean it's non-perceptible, just that most people are overlooking it. This said, the second part of that, do I also accept that these physical beings are going through the different forms of spiritual consciousness? The sad reality of that is, frankly, they're not exactly going through different forms, just different stages. They will have different names for it, but they're not a different form. Spiritual evolution is done by questioning the unknown issues, and then using whatever science is available to that race to explain it. Okay, so this is the same thing that humans do. It's the same thing that the other races do. They question the things they don't understand and then look for scientific ways to quantify it. This is one of the biggest reasons why spirituality and science are both equally required. I hope that actually that clarifies that part of it. Because the unseen world, the world that is moving so fast that people don't notice it, is a very real issue. Okay, and that's where things get to be a little confusing, because what happens is if you don't understand something, your mind is going to automatically fill in the blanks. So when we talk about an imperceptible world, I've seen in my own life I've watched with witnesses people walk through walls. Now, you're not supposed to be able to walk through walls, but I've seen it done. Heck, I've done it myself. So it's quite interesting from that standpoint. But yeah, absolutely. Do I believe in it? Certainly. Do I believe in the different spiritual paths that the different races are on? They're certainly on different stages. But like I said, they are following a similar path, just in different steps. I think that's the best way to put it.
There's a lot of people who talk about the theories of extraterrestrials. For instance, there is a theory that all ETs are evil. That could be brought down by religion and government and Hollywood. There are people out there who think that extraterrestrials are very etherical, teachers of what is coming in the future for spiritualness, exoexistence, so on and so forth. How right or how wrong do we have it as mankind, whether we're talking positively or negatively of extraterrestrials, about the theories that we have come to conclusions on?
Well, on the whole, the one big thing that is dead wrong is that every off-world race is evil and out to destroy us, out to control us, whatever. That is dead wrong. The other part that people have that is wrong, and they did the same thing with their own nationalities. Every member of every race is not of the same mindset. You don't have, even when you've got a race that is primarily a dominating race, i.e. a race that goes about conquering places, you still have the individuals in that race that don't agree with it and that are against it, because much as the off-worlders and the ancient races do have better toys than mankind does, they still have the same kinds of outlooks, if you will. They still have the same questions, they still have the same insecurities. The only thing they've got that puts them in better shape is because they have learned to work together for the majority of it, they end up with bigger toys. The ironic part is mankind has this brilliant idea that war is, that war is a great motivator, a great creative force. The reality is that mankind would be so much further ahead if it would quit shooting each other and focus on healing each other. That is what would make it a whole lot better. Okay. That's the big issue that you have to take a look at. Is that the war, trying to kill each other, and let's face it, mankind is not good at it, isn't working for the evolution that they're aiming for. And this is the only advantage that the off-worlders really have at this stage. Okay, is that they have figured out if they work as a race, as a bigger group, towards a common goal, they can accomplish so much more, they can become so much more technologically advanced, and net result, get to see a whole lot more of the fascinating, the really fascinating things that are out in the universe.
What is that music in the background? Somebody watching cartoons?
No, not exactly. But it's being terminated. Actually, I didn't know you could hear it.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a mixture of some Disney movie and Tom and Jerry.
In a manner of speaking, it is. My eldest is actually playing a construction game of sorts.
Oh, cool!
On the TV and listening on the PS4 or the Wii or something to that effect.
Excellent. Gotta love that. Hey, Claudia has a question in the SOR Space Travelers. She's asking, Keith, do extraterrestrials live on the outer rings of our planets? Like Saturn?
Well, if you're asking about on the physical outer rings, as in are they set up on the asteroids, not in permanent stations. However, are they out amongst them? The answer is yes. Now, the nice part about it is if you take a look at the moons, on the other hand, not the rings, but the moons, you'll actually find that, yeah, there are some that are set up there. Mankind has a research station set up on Titan.
I was going to ask you about that because I have heard that from a couple other people before, that there is a research base set up on Titan with the secret space program.
Yeah, it's actually been on Titan since, if I recall correctly, right near the end of the 1980s, right before we got into the 90s. So it would have been 88, 89 is when they got out there. Now, you'll find out about that in about 20 years.
All right, let's get to some more questions here.
Absolutely.
Robert is asking in the SOR Space Travelers, some people even think that extraterrestrials are us, but highly evolved. Do you buy into that theory?
In a manner of speaking, in some cases, the answer would be yes. See, Earth right now, this society is not the first Terran society to get off the planet. Okay, so yes, some of them are further advanced. They are human. They started off here. They left here. They're back, but they are not from the future coming back in time. They are in present time. You take a look at it. If we take a look at the Atlanteans weren't human to start with, but when you take a look at the Lemurians, which were human, before their race ended, before they died, they actually had gotten off planet quite some time ago, and a chunk of them had left. Mobius, which is a planet in our solar system that the government doesn't tell you about, at least they don't come right out and tell you, they leave it on their website. It's in the same orbit as Earth, but it happens to be on the other side of the sun. So you're never going to see it from Earth with a telescope. They're human. It's just that simple. They got there a long time ago, but they're human. So yes, there are some that are human, but not all of them. As a matter of fact, very few of them, in all fairness.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one comes from Chris in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. He is asking, so do the laws which govern our local region of the cosmos also apply in other regions and systems? Or do different laws govern the different galaxies? For instance, speaking purely in terms of physics and material science, are we arrogant to assume that the laws governing us also govern others in far-off regions?
Well, fortunately, that particular question, it's not arrogance, it's accuracy. We are living in a three-dimensional space. And everything that exists in three-dimensional space follows the same laws. The fact of the matter is that mankind doesn't know the real intricacies of the laws, but they still are governed. So where, for instance, mankind hasn't quite figured out the way that gravity actually works, so they still struggle with it, other races have turned around and figured out how it works so they can bypass it, but they're using the same laws. They're using the same principles.
Ralphie is saying in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, sometimes 4 plus 4 equals pudding for all we know. What is relevant in our world does not apply there. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely not. The problem isn't the problem isn't the 4 plus 4 equals pudding. His concept is correct, and it was something Gene Roddenberry actually pointed out quite some time back, that the biggest problem that humans and off-worlders have is they have no reference point for culture. So when you're asking 4 plus 4, you automatically have a problem with the question. This is where the hybridization program that the Greys developed came into existence. By growing cultural translators, they managed to find a way to actually communicate so that when humans are saying 4 plus 4, the other races are looking at it and going, okay, we know what they're asking. Okay, we know what the question is now. Prime example, you hold a cup of coffee out to somebody, out to an off-worlder that's never dealt with humans, and you go, coffee? They don't know if you're asking about a drink, if it's a greeting thing, if that cup is representative of a threat. They don't know if you're talking about the temperature of the thing. They've got nothing to work on.
Okay, let me interrupt you there for a second, because when you ran into the Pleiadians at the Experiencer Speak conference last year,
yes,
how did they introduce themselves to you?
Well, it was more a question of how I introduced myself to them, because when I walked over to them, I looked at them, and I looked at them a little different. It was sort of trying to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. And then my first comment was, I says, please don't take offense to this, but are you by any chance Pleiadian? And the guy, Don, the one that I was talking to, looked at me really odd, kind of cocked his head a bit, and he goes, yes. And I went, great, welcome to the conference. This is certainly the place if you want to make contact with people that are open to this sort of thing. Coming to a conference like this is certainly your best odds. Right. And I says, many people here either claim to have had off-world experiences or they are interested in finding out about it. So I suspect you've had more than your fair share of off-world travel. At which point he relaxed a little. And the thing that got my attention most of all was when I turned around and said, just for your edification, just a little extra information, a few years back I ran into a Martokian. Now, everybody prior to my making that comment that I had mentioned Martokians to didn't get it. It's like, well, what the heck is a Martokian? Like, what are you referring to? Don got extremely excited in a good way, and he almost started jumping up and down, going, what were they doing here? Where did you meet them? Why were they here? What was their purpose? Where were they? Right. Clearly, Don knew who the Martokians were, and he clearly wasn't afraid of them. That was the thing that really made it blatantly clear that this was a real game changer. This, for me, was that cognitive on Earth. Here you have the off-worlders showing up.
Understandable, but to put it on a human concept, did you go to shake their hand, and did they know what that was about, or did you not even try? Like, I guess I'm looking for a human connection here.
I didn't actually try to shake their hand until after we'd had the communication. And then I stuck my hand out. Now, Don had clearly had some interaction with people before. The other guy with him did not. The other guy was so far out of his element, it was insane. But Don clearly had, because when I stuck my hand out, I didn't do it right when I first met him. Right? In all fairness, when I first met him, the conversation he was involved in was clearly going sour. He was not taking it well. And I stepped between him and the other person involved, not directly between them, but certainly to get Don's attention. And once I had made a rapport with him and we'd gotten past the initial discussions, that was when he relaxed a little. And when we went to say goodbye, I did stick my hand out to shake his hand, and he did take it. He looked at it a little funny, but he stuck his hand out and shook my hand. And then, he said, I've got to go, because his partner was already leaving the room. This other chap was already leaving. And clearly he had to keep up with him or keep him out of trouble. I'm not sure which. But they left the room, got into the lobby. They didn't leave the lobby. They vanished out of the lobby. They dematerialized right there in front of me.
Well, let me ask you this then. When you shook hands with him, what did that feel like? Did it feel like shaking hands with another human being, or did it feel any different?
There was something different about it. It had a movement to it that wasn't human, is the best way I can put it. I'm just trying to think. Have you ever held on to a... I'm trying to think of something that fits the bill. Have you ever held on to a newborn cat or newborn dog before they get their fur?
No, I have not.
Okay. How about I guess you could go with any sort of animal that doesn't have a lot of fur. Where you're actually grabbing hold of the skin, like a Rex, like a cat. I think they're called an Egyptian hairless.
Yes.
Okay. The skin underneath it, you could feel the hand, you could feel the fingers move, but the skin underneath it, I could also feel it move. Okay. As I mentioned earlier in another show that we did, I could see the pigmentation move. Well, frankly, for me, I could feel the pigmentation move. But it wasn't abnormally cold, it wasn't abnormally hot. It was just, if you will, different.
Right.
Christopher Fisher is asking if I've heard of Aldebaran. Well, yeah, Aldebaran is one of the stars. Is a star. I can actually pull the information up on it. Just a little thought. Christopher asked quite literally, I've had such experiences. I have a feeling where, have you heard of Aldebaran? Which is a star. It's very much along the same lines as Sol.
Is there life in Aldebaran?
There is. There's actually, that I'm aware of, 4 planets that have life on Aldebaran, but they are not human by any stretch. Well, I guess if you stretch it far enough, you might be able to find a similarity.
Are they good guys or bad guys?
Now, that depends on which part of the planet you're on.
Chris is saying, I had experiences about the Tau Dedanon.
Yep. That's a religious faction. And they are, they're a little bit strict, but they've got their head in the right place. They just don't have when they talk about following their doctrine, they're much, I guess the best way to put it is the Tau Dedanon are very much like the old Tibetan monks in their focus on routine, on their rituals.
We have about a minute left here. I think for a lot of people, what would you explain the Tao, when you say they're religious, the Tao Te Ching are? Are they an alien species or a human species? What are they?
Oh, they're definitively alien. The Tao Te Ching, in all fairness, I should clarify that a little. They are primarily non-human, but they have picked up some humans, but very few, and no, the humans are not here. Did they come from here? Yes. But these guys are teaching a form of spirituality very similar to some of the ones on Earth, but they are non-combatant. Okay. Can they fight? Certainly, but they are not. They are not fighters per se.
Right. Okay. On that note, I'm going to put you on hold, Keith. We're going to take our break here at the top of the hour. 1 hour down, 2 hours to go with our resident ET expert, R. Keith Andrews. He's here the first Friday of every month to break down your questions about extraterrestrial contact. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantids, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird? Right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners and the live listeners. Usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back for the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night and Sunday, Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, is back in the cabin with Elizabeth Anglin for Spaced Out Weekend, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. I am off into the wilderness after this show, going to find my Zen, my Chi, and maybe heal my very, very sore fingers. Never slam your fingers in a car door. It hurts. It really, really hurts. So be careful out there. That is my warning for the day. Remember, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, for our archives. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you can check out Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire for all the news of the day. Our music man, Bumblefoot, click on his tab. You can read my latest blog and the blogs of our team by clicking on the blog section. Mine is on an UFO landing I saw in April of 2014. You can comment right below that as well. And join the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. And with that, you get access to private group interviews. You get a special section on our website for posting. You also get your name put into monthly draws for prizes, because we want to give stuff back to you. SpacedOutRadio.com is where you can find absolutely everything that you need. Tonight we are talking with our resident ET expert, R. Keith Andrews. He comes on the first Friday of every month. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It is, the questions are starting to roll in, and this is where it gets really, really fun from my end, although it can be tricky trying to catch all the questions.
All right, let's get to Tanya's question. She's been waiting a while in the SOR Space Travelers Club. She's saying, I'm hoping that Keith can help me out with this. Last night I was taken, but this time it was different than before. Last night the ETs came to take me during a lucid dream I was having. I know it wasn't a dream because by now I can tell when it's a dream or whether it's a real experience. But my question is, has Keith experienced something like this before? I could go into more details if needed.
Well, I'm hoping I understand the question, but the issue of being taken and it being a lucid dream that isn't a dream, yeah, I have. What's happened is they've taken you. There's no question there. And for obvious reasons, much like you, I can't prove it either. But when they try and sometimes when they try and knock you out, right, because the theory is if they knock you out, you're going to be a little bit more relaxed. They can do what they need to without causing undue stress to the body, put you back and be done with it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, in your case, what's happening is your ability to sense what's going on is keeping you semi-aware of what's happening. So you know it's happening, you're aware that things are changing, but you still don't have a whole lot of control over what's going on. Have I gone through it before? Absolutely. And it's not always a fun thing. In your case, by the feel of it, it likely, not so much fun, but at least not terrifying.
Eric has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. We tend to try and ascribe human values ideas to aliens. What happens when a race is so completely alien that we have absolutely no common references? Can you name such a race?
Well, that have no common references, no, because of the fact that they're dealing with the physical world. However, the vegans have no concept of pain. Like, none. They don't have pain receptors, which means when they're doing when they come to do an experiment, when they come to take blood samples, when they come to take a look at what's happening, the whole concept of fear, the whole concept of pain doesn't exist in their world. So, humans, they end up in an accident and they end up losing an arm, and humans are in an absolute state of panic. Vegans don't understand why. Okay, yeah, we understand the arm, the arm's missing, and therefore it's going to be a bit of a problem trying to pick things up. But what are you screaming about? Screaming isn't going to bring the arm back. The amoeboids have no concept of physical restriction. Like, there's just nothing that they can wrap their brain around of why, given that human bodies are internally so fluid, the amoeboids have no concept as to why mankind refuses to put that to use and liquefy the bones so that you can actually go where you need to. There's a common saying that they really don't understand amongst humans. I was born with too few hands. Well, in their eyes, if you got too few hands, grow a couple extras.
Just that simple.
Yeah, just that simple. If you're short-handed, well, make a couple more. Don't complain about it. Just do it.
Claudia is asking in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook, in each race, who is governing them? Do they have a president or a prime minister or a top scientist governing them? What would be the term of their leader?
Oh, now that's about as varied as we can get. The answer would be yes. But if we go, if we narrow it down a little, when you take a look at the Galactic Consortium, they have a council of 12. And for lack of a better way of putting it, they do have what would amount to a speaker, but much like the speaker in the House of Commons, but the speaker changes depending on the question. For instance, if the best person to handle a question, if it's a military question, then the best person on the council to handle military is going to be the one that controls the meeting, that guides which questions get answered in which order. When you're looking at the different races, there are matriarchs, there are patriarchs, there are the religious, demigods, if you will, that rule some places. Some of the societies are very military, and therefore their leader is what would amount to a 5-star general. It really depends on which race.
The second part to Claudia's question is, if they believe in God, what is their method to communicate with God?
And again, we get into the same problem. You see, do they believe? All of them do believe, at least as near as I've come to piece it together. Everyone that I've talked to believes in some form of spiritual icon. Sometimes, all of them have at least one god at the head of the totem pole, but some of them have multiple gods. Some are focused on only one god. Some are, you've got some people that believe in one god and, on the same planet, where some groups believe in one god, others believe in in multiples. But every one of the ones that I've gotten into a discussion with, and like every one of the primary spokespeople, if you will, on the whole, they all believe in a higher, in some form of higher power by many different names. The other thing I noticed in the comments here, yes, every one of the off-worlders, every one of the ancient races that I've run into has a soul. Very much along the same lines as what mankind has. And they worry about the same thing. When I die, am I going to go to this punishable place? Am I going to go to a nice place? And there's all sorts of variations on what punishment and what nice is.
Let's get to Joe's question here. The aliens have supposedly been here longer than we have. If they're so damn smart, how come they don't know what a cup of coffee is?
Well, the reason for that is because most of them don't drink coffee. And ironically, humans on the whole don't invite them over for coffee.
I've invited them here. I invited that guy to my window who showed up a year ago.
Yeah, but did you give him a cup of coffee?
Well, no, I thought he would like some bourbon or tequila better,
Just thought I'd ask. See, the funny part about that is, if we ask most Americans, okay, and I'm going to use the Americans because, quite frankly, it's a reality thing. If you talk to most Americans, especially in the southern states, and you ask them what a muckluck is, most of them haven't got a clue. And they've been here all their lives. They're human. They're on the same planet. But most people do not have, most humans don't even know the odds and ends of other cultures on their own planet. Never mind the individual details of the foodstuffs and the clothing stuffs and what have you. That would be why they don't know what coffee is on the whole.
Now we're gonna have a bunch of people asking what mucklucks are.
You don't have to answer this particular question, Dave, but I am kind of curious.
Do I know?
If you know what it is.
Of course I do.
Well, I just thought I'd ask. I've spoken to some Canadians that actually don't. And I'm like, really?
They're a nice warm pair of winter shoes made by Eskimos.
Yeah.
I had a pair when I was a child. My mother had a pair, and believe it or not, she saved them, and I actually put them on my own son last winter.
Oh, nice. Yeah, yes. They are quite warm, and the term, it's better than a kick in the head with a frozen muckluck. I've tried the kick in the head with the frozen muckluck. It's not fun.
No, I can't see that being very fun. Can't see that being very fun at all. Let's get to another question from Claudia in the SOR Space Travelers room. When we travel to a planet, do we leave our body and stay in spirit only? Does our spirit know we can travel to other planets? Is it our spirit they meet when we are out of body?
Well, the answer is it depends on the person and the race, for that matter, whether you're going in spirit form or physical. I've gone both. Does the spirit know the spirit can travel to other planets? Absolutely. There is no question there at all. The spirit knows that you can travel forward in time, but you can't travel backward in time. Needless to say, it doesn't tend to travel forward that much without the body. At least not without killing the body off. The issue of, is it the spirit that you meet when they're your spirit that meets their spirit when you're meeting out of body? The answer is definitively yes. It's kind of like getting out of your vehicle and meeting another driver from another car on the sidewalk. You both get out of the vehicle, both meet each other. The fact that you drive different cars does not mean you're any different than the other person.
Is it our spirit or our higher self that they contact then?
Well, quite frankly, that would be one and the same. The higher self and the spirit is the same thing. Just people haven't figured out really that the spirit is what they're actually connecting with. Because the spirit actually takes up far more room than what the physical body can contain.
So, when you are taken, how do you know whether you are in spiritual form or in physical form?
Well, if you're coming back with bodily damage, you were taken in physical form. Bodily damage being implants, being scoop marks out of you, being burns on the skin, lesions, cuts, bruises. Any of those things show up, you were taken physically. If they don't show up, the odds are you weren't taken physically. That's quite frankly the easiest way to look at it.
Keith, can we control how they take us? And I'll give you an example. I have, and you know that I have had contact myself.
Yeah.
And I'm very open about that. I have nothing to hide in regards to that. Okay? But I have kind of set a ground rule. I don't know if it works or not, but I have said to them, because I have been taken, and I have seen with my own two eyes extraterrestrials standing in front of me, I have basically said to them and kind of put a rule and guideline in place, whether they follow it or not, that'll be my question, that basically says, I don't give you permission to take me spiritually anymore. If you're going to take me, I want to be taken with my eyes open. I don't want any of this dream crap. I don't want to be, knocked out. I want to see you face to face. I've gone through way too much to have this type of BS pulled. Now, obviously, that's me talking tough as a human. Do they understand or respect that wish?
Well, that's where you get an interesting complication. Most of the time, they'll understand it, simply because of the way that they operate. Will they respect it? Well, the people you spoke to directly and their direct superiors undoubtedly will. However, that's not to say that that's the only way that you're going to get taken. It's kind of like if you tell one guard, to one guard or one teacher, this is how I want to be dealt with. It's not like they're going to go and tell everybody else.
No, I understand that. I understand that completely, that there would be I don't want to use the word lack of trust, but a lack of control as to what truly is happening. I do get that. But if I put it out there,
they do their best to accommodate.
Because it sure as hell ain't happening, and I'm getting frustrated, man.
Well, what you're probably dealing with, in all fairness, is you may be dealing with a group that physically cannot take you physically. They may not have that capacity. And if that's the case, you can't exactly blame them for not taking you physically. As far as consciously goes, there is a reason they won't do that one. And it really boils down to numbers. Too many times people have said, I'll be fine if I can come in consciously. And they go into they either go into a total panic up there, or their entire life falls apart because their mind won't handle it when they put them back down here. And some of the toughest people, some of the toughest people, or the people that think they're the toughest, have buckled the fastest.
Joe is saying the coffee reference was a general reference to all the damn things the aliens don't understand. I don't care if aliens drink coffee, for God's sakes. What kind of answer is that? I love Joe. He's calling my BS right there. Thank you, Joe, for doing that. And Joe really does make a good point. They don't seem to understand, many of them. I'm not going to say all of them, okay? But many of them don't seem to understand what human free will is about. And, I think whether it's Shar making a comment in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker where she says, Dave, they will stick needles in your eyes. Okay? People are paranoid about this.
Absolutely.
They are absolutely paranoid. And I'm not here, Keith, and I don't want to get into this discussion, well, all aliens are good or all aliens are bad. Because not all people are good, not all people are bad.
Exactly.
But I think there is a paranoia. Doesn't matter where you are on this world, Keith. Okay, Canada, the United States, Britain, Australia, Russia, China, Africa, doesn't matter where you are. I think the whole purpose is that a lot of people are upset about is there is a real fear that they do not understand what human free will is and the respect to what we are doing here and what our own personal lives and limitations are.
Well, I'm going to clarify a couple of things, and I'm going to point out something to Joe, because sadly this is a flaw on my part, and I've said it for a very long time. It would seem that I learned my entire English, my entire spoken language seems to have been derived from the dictionary, because I've been accused all my life of missing the subtle hints or the subtle innuendos. So when we're talking about something like, why don't they know what coffee is? Sadly, missing the reference to it's just a figure of speech, that's a massive flaw I've had all my life. And yeah, I have been here like 53 years. But it has been a real problem on that end. So my apologies from that standpoint. As far as the issue of the paranoia, let's be clear, it's not just the paranoia of the humans. The off-worlders have the same paranoia. And you are right, Dave, and all the people out there, all of your listeners out there that are questioning, don't they get what free will is? The answer is no. They really don't. That would be the biggest problem right off the bat. They can't figure out how so many people running in so many different directions can actually build a society of a global standing and actually get off the planet without being organized enough to stop shooting each other. They can't figure out how you guys actually work together when you can't tolerate the fact that somebody dresses funny. Okay, so do they understand free will? Not in the slightest. That is one of the things that concerns them. And I made the comment a couple of months back that many of the off-worlders are actually afraid of humans because they don't understand them. This is what half of the research is trying to figure it out. Now, the hard part for people is this one. And I do agree wholeheartedly, so let's be clear on that. Being taken against your will is no fun. The problem in this case is that mankind does just the same thing to their own people, to their own animals, the different races on this planet. The problem is that mankind doesn't like being the ones being taken, which, frankly, I can understand.
And that makes very good sense. And Bill Cardwell in the SOR Space Travelers Club, by the way, he has come up with the password incarceration for tonight. Incarceration is your password, Space Travelers. Bill's comment is, some humans don't get human free will, so why would aliens?
Bingo.
And
he's absolutely right.
I guess when you look at it, a lot of times what we look to do here on Earth is we look for that more complicated answer.
The way I heard it put one day was absolutely priceless when they said the most ingenious thing anybody has ever accomplished was taking the simplest concept and making it complicated.
We're good at it.
We're good. Making complications? Absolutely.
Okay, but you know what? We got about a minute left before we got to go to break here, and Joe brings up a very good counterpoint to this. The aliens have had 20 years or 20,000 years to study us, and they still don't get it. They must be a real brain trust.
Well, first of all, Joe, it's been a heck of a sight longer than 20,000 years. Second of all, understand that the current race of humans are brain dead compared to the ones that were here 25,000 years ago. This is not a question of they haven't been able to figure out humans. This is a question of humans keep wiping themselves out, and the off-worlders have to go back to trying to figure out just how little they actually understand before they can move forward again.
I'm going to end it on this because we do have to go to break. Bruce Becker says, did those coffee beans want to be taken? As we get back into the coffee side. But nonetheless, we're going to hop out for a break here. R. Keith Andrews is our guest tonight. He is our resident extraterrestrial expert. The ET Experience with R. Keith Andrews happens the first Friday of every month here on Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings, no matter where you are. It's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us, so why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend, at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, for all your music. My bag is packed. I'm heading out for the wilderness, literally right after the show. Going to find my Zen, my Chi, and hopefully a good Wi-Fi signal in a cave in the mountains here, so that way I can catch Spaced Out Weekend with James Tyson and Elizabeth Anglin tomorrow night and Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Hey, if you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you could be like Joe and Bill and sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It equals out to about $5 a month. And with that, you get access to a private section on our website, private group interviews, which we're going to start up here in the next couple of months. You get your name automatically put into a monthly prize draw as well. We're going to give you a heck of a lot more than just access to our archives. Tonight's SOR Space Traveler's password is incarceration. Bill Cardwell came up with that because I am in Facebook jail right now. Apparently, I am not allowed to tag people in my own Spaced Out Radio chat room. Go figure. I'm spamming my own followers, according to Facebook. So incarceration is your password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. We bring in our Keith Andrews once again. He is our resident ET expert. Keith is here the first Friday of every month. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It is turning into an interesting, there are some really good questions coming out tonight, making it very easy. So thank you very much to the audience.
Well, let's start off with Eric's question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Keith, what is your current take or thought that RH negative is of alien origin? I will say up front that I believe it is not. Now, I want to preface this. Eric does work in a hospital. He does have a science degree.
Well, that works out. The science degree works out really well because I didn't get past grade 8 biology, although I did take a course in theoretical genetics. The answer to the question, though, is no. RH negative is not. It's not a question of it being of off-world origin, although there are some races that prefer the RH negative because of the way it interacts with other things they're working with. It boils down to a genetic, to just simply a case of genetics, that derivative is more efficient for what they're working on. But it is developed on the planet by the biological evolution of mankind.
So do you believe then that it is just a regular human blood that extraterrestrials may have a particular interest in then?
Yes. It's very much like with some of the studies that get done by humans. What is the configuration of a redhead as compared to a brunette, as far as how the thinking processes go?
Well, we all know that redheads don't have any souls.
Really?
It's been said on South Park. It has to be true.
Oh, I missed that episode amongst about 99% of the rest of them.
Oh,
I don't have
it's good stuff. Me either. I haven't watched them in years. Okay,
but no, that's all it boils down to.
Shar has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. How do they just appear? And if they are so powerful, why would they let some of their people be held at Area 51?
Well, two things. One, it depends on the issue of how do certain races just appear. There's two ways that I know of that they can just appear. One is by optical bending. In other words, what would amount to an invisibility field, so you don't even see them until they shut it off. The second one is, for lack of for simplistic terms, teleportation, i.e. matter transport. And have I seen that? Well, heck, that's how they got in and out of the conference last year, was they literally just materialized. You know, if you look back at it, you know, if you look way back to the 70s at the Willy Wonka, you know, at the show Willy Wonka, they used it there. It was just kind of like taking a photograph and shipping it overboard. You know.
Joe has a question in the SOR Space Travelers Club on Facebook. Keith, do you interact with aliens physically, spiritually, or in a dream state? And why has all the knowledge of the galaxy been imparted to you when most abductees have had their entire experience blanked out of their mind? What makes you so special?
Well, the answer to the first part is I've done all three. You know, I've gone physically, I've gone spiritually, you know, I've gone in dream state. That side of it, in simplest terms, I don't think there's a method I haven't used. And in all fairness, much like most of you, I much prefer the amicable physical interaction. As for why I've got the information, you know, I would love to be able to give you a definitive answer. The best I can tell you is that all my life, I have never seen a difference in even dealing with other people. I have never seen people differently based on their income, their gender, their skin color, their height, their social standing. None of it has ever made a difference to me in the way I treat an individual. So, you know, as near as I can figure, that may be part of the issue. My memories date back to the construction of the planet. Now, some people remember some past lives. I remember a staggering number of them. You know, so it may be a question of the fact that I've got those memories and am able to handle them without going completely nuts. Because according to human psychiatrists and psychologists, I'm perfectly sane. My only real problem seems to be I don't handle stupid people well, and they apparently can understand that. You know, so according to human science, I'm perfectly sane. There's nothing wrong with the way I'm thinking. Therefore, the only thing I can extrapolate is because of the fact that I see everybody as equal, regardless of what they look like, regardless of what they dress like, and I always treat them the same way. Okay, and no, I'm not perfect. This does not mean I'm better than anybody else. It just means I'm a little different than most. Exactly why they chose to hand it to me, frankly, I don't know, because let's face it, I'm about the worst placed individual on the planet for getting the message to people. I don't have a book out to flog. I don't have a science degree that I can tell people, oh, here's exactly how it works in your world. But I can explain transdimensional reconfiguration and the quantum magnetic flux to the point that quantum physicists can't quite wrap their brain around it. You know, this is where I run into an interesting snag. I really can't give you a definitive why me. And Lord knows I've asked that often enough. They just haven't given me a definitive answer I could work with.
Eric Cooper, or make that Eric Markham, has a question in the SOR Space Travelers Club, actually the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. It's more of a comment, but I'd like you to answer it. He said, I would like to find out whether or not I would freak out or not. I don't think so. I don't get spooked by paranormal stuff anymore. What's your take on when someone says that?
It actually is it's a lot more common than you might think. And the best I can tell you is it is a question that people ask. And the fact that he hasn't spooked before is a great thing. Unfortunately, having a face-to-face meeting does tend to prove to be, and I've seen it happen a lot, it tends to be far more disconcerting than people think. Okay, I've seen people that have faced down the worst odds in a war zone not be able to handle the touch of a gray, because it's a different setup. When you take it from belief or take it from the disconnected view and bring it into the physical, it changes the whole 9 yards. But it is, it's certainly a viable question.
Well, it's also a case, too, that you do have to be careful what you wish for.
Absolutely.
you know, and that's being truthful on that, because, I mean, you don't want to sit there and say, I don't care what the contact is, I just have to see something for my own eyes to know that it's real. Because the next thing you know, you're calling in some bad dudes who, are not very friendly, and may have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And the next thing you know, well, you're going all Whitley Strieber and getting the probe up your ass. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. That's got to be one of the stupidest things I ever hear people say. I don't care what race I get picked up by, I just want to get picked up. Okay, well, there's a sign. Have you ever heard the song, Here's Your Sign? It's kind of like going, I don't care who climbs into my car while I'm hitchhiking, as long as somebody climbs into my car so I can have the experience of a hitchhiker.
Let's get to Keith's or Eric's other question for you. Keith, are Greys a true race, or are they more of a meat-type robot?
No, they're a very true race. And there's a whole pile of them on a planet that really do take offense when people go, you're just a robot. The thing is that they are, and this is where we run into a problem. There are such things as biological constructs. Absolutely there are. Greys aren't one of them. Now, some people have built greys. Some of the races, humans included, have built robot greys. Okay, and they look very much identical. But then if you think about it, humans have built robot humans that look identical. But the Greys themselves are a race unto themselves. But there are two distinct strains of Greys. Never mind the different colors and the different skeletal configuration as far as facial configuration goes. There's two distinct Grey races. One very tall and lanky, the other one very short. The tall, lanky ones are the controllers. They're the ones that govern what happens and what gets done. The other ones are the workers.
Shar is asking, Keith, I think they are just using you for PR and using mind control.
Well, that's okay. Because, I could take that in a number of different fashions. But the reality of it is this. People have asked, or have been focusing on what the off-worlders are up to. And I keep telling them that. And then I keep telling people that, they're doing the same thing to humans that humans are doing to other animals. Well, the problem with that approach is that humans on the whole do not like the idea of being told that taking a tiger out of the woods, doing a blood sample, doing a skin sample, sticking a tracker on it and putting it back in the wild is okay, but you can't do that to a human. Humans on the whole are still an extremely infantile race, and they don't like being told they're doing something wrong. Now, the reality is I could give you all kinds of examples of things that the off-worlders are doing that I certainly don't agree with. Okay, but am I being mind-controlled? I've been called worse. I've been told I'm the devil incarnate. I've been told I'm absolutely stark raving bananas. I've been told that I don't know a thing about what I'm talking about. And people are entitled to their own opinion. I don't take offense to it. It's just another one of the issues of when you don't see the world in the same way that others do, you're going to be seen as there's a reason for it. There is no reason for it. My parents have tried telling me ever since I was a kid to not tell people what I do, not talk to people about how I see the world, keep it quiet, keep it under wraps. That didn't work that well. As I said earlier in the show, I got fed up with people telling me that, asking whether I was bipolar or MPD or whether I had, whether I was mentally imbalanced. So I actually went to a psychiatrist just recently. And what they discovered was, according to human current specialists, and this guy in particular, a Dr. Latimer in town here, runs a trial clinic. He runs a clinic that they work with experimental drugs to try and control things, try and help people cope. And he asked me what I thought about medication, because they've got some great medications that can help. And I looked at him and I said, I'll tell you what. When humans start working with the triple helix to figure out the medical procedures, instead of dealing with the double helix, which quite frankly is missing most of the information necessary, we can talk. And he looked at me and he gave me this really funny look and he goes, okay, you're right about the triple helix. So we're not going to discuss medication for you. So, the other issue around trying to control the way my mind is, in simplest terms, when I was a kid, I had an accident that created a problem with trying to control it because it doesn't work. They actually tried to shut my abilities down by bringing in a mystic to cripple them. Well, actually to kill them. That didn't work too well because of the way my brain is actually built. Now, the reality is, people will say I'm a PR. I've been asked more often than not, Dave, about whether I prefer being around off-worlders as compared to being around humans. And the answer is unequivocally no. I just prefer being around people that actually think and take responsibility for what they're doing than I do being around people that point the finger at everybody else.
Let's get to a question from Eric in the Space Out Radio chat room. Is there an Encyclopedia Galactica or an actual Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe?
Working on it. As far as that goes, I'm actually in the process of trying to put one together. As far as an actual Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe, no. Unless, of course, we refer to the book that somebody wrote, that a human wrote, and that was kind of a neat trip down memory lane. But is there a library that has the galactic laws and the rules and the interactions of the different races? Absolutely. And it does make the Library of Congress look like, basically a drop in a bucket.
Shar would like you to re-explain why they allow their races to stay at Area 51.
Well, two reasons. And, the fact of the matter is they haven't, the people in Area 51, there's two sides to it. Some people run into a problem, okay. Some of the races that are over there for, if you will, an exchange program. If they really wanted them back, then yeah, they could go in and take them. There's nothing that mankind could do to stop it. The other issue is, and this is the part that mankind is missing, the people that are on the inside of Area 51, the ones that are conscious, quite frankly, are feeding information back to their own planet, or more to the point, to the people in orbit. This is not just a question of being trapped there. This is a question of being there. And much as the humans are barbaric in a lot of ways, they still have a fair chunk of information. And what better way to keep an eye on it than to leave some people there? Now, this is not all it's not all roses. It's not all a great thing. You got to remember, some of the races that are there, their own people go, you got caught. Sucks to be you. So they just don't bother.
Eric is asking, Keith, have you ever been tempted to build your own craft since you understand the mechanics?
Yeah, but I don't have the money for it. And of course, the people I talk to about it, frankly, look at me as though my mind is completely gone. Because I know exactly how to do it, but I don't have the technical background to be able to explain it, and I certainly don't have the mechanical background to do it myself. See, there's a neat little thing called an electron drive that operates off the shockwave that electrons use, or that electrons create when they leave the orbit of an atom. And it's picking up that energy that operates some of the ships. Now, mankind doesn't have the technology to harness that just yet. Just like until the late 90s, they didn't have the technology to even see the triple helix.
Okay, we'll move on to our next question. This comes from Shar. Are we susceptible to them because we are learning about them?
Partially. The other part is because of the fact that many of them are further evolved technologically speaking, and therefore there isn't much you can do about it. So you're susceptible because of the fact that they just happen to have better toys.
We'll try and fit in a couple more questions here, so we've got about 3 minutes before the break. Eric is asking back to the Greys. Are they animal-based or fungal plant-based creatures?
They're actually animal-based, but I understand the question around the fungal base. They are actually an animal, but because of their diet, they have taken on, and we are talking about the diet that they've had for millennia. Actually, eons, I think is a better way of putting it. But because of their diet, their body has adjusted to accommodate it. The diet and the climate they live in. But they are, in all fairness, an animal. Well, originally.
Shar is asking, do extraterrestrials control abductees' minds?
Control? Very seldom. Cloud? Absolutely. And that's done by just simply doing a very low grade, well, the best way to put it is electroshock therapy to basically short out the short-term memory so that they can't piece it together. And the reason they do that is because most people's brain won't handle what they see.
That makes sense. We got time for one more question here, and this comes from Claudia and the SOR Space Travelers. When the guest gets downloads, so in other words, Keith, when you get downloads, how long does it take for you to understand it all? Do you realize later that you have received information that was ahead of what the scientists have discovered? Have you ever been able to share that information before scientists have discovered it?
Yeah, hence the issue around the triple helix. In answer to the first part of the question, usually when I get the download, I know right off the bat. I know it's coming in. I know what's going on with it, and I translate it as it's coming in. Sometimes I end up getting a piece of information, as happened to me during the conference, during last year's conference, where I got a download, and I had to go and talk to a human scientist to find out what the heck they were talking about. Because the way it was phrased was I was given a measurement, and then told it was Terran standard form, and I'm like, you want to run that by me again? So I went and talked to a Terran. Like a human.
Weird.
But yeah, you think it's weird from your standpoint. You should try it from mine.
On that note, my friend, we are going to take a break here at the top of the hour. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go with R. Keith Andrews, our resident ET expert here on Spaced Out Radio. Man, sometimes the tongue just gets tied. I got to shorten up these days. Maybe some sleep will help. Our resident ET expert, R. Keith Andrews. He's here the first Friday of every month. His next appearance will be in September on the 2nd, before the long weekend. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy, from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight's SOR Space Travelers password set by Bill Cardwell is incarceration. That's dedicated to me in Facebook jail for tagging too many people in my own Spaced Out Radio SOR Space Travelers chat room for people who like to come in and listen to the show. Heaven forbid if I should use social media for its purpose to get the message out. So I'm in Facebook jail, so tonight's password is incarceration. Tomorrow night and Sunday, we have Elizabeth Anglin and James Tyson back in the hot seat in the cabin for Spaced Out Weekend. Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club like Eric Squared did, Bill and Joe, and Gloria, and many others. You can also check out our music from Bumblefoot. Click on the Bumblefoot banner. Read the SOR Space Wire by Eric Markham, our news director, and check out our latest set of blogs. They change weekly, and there's some very incredible and talented writers there, including yours truly. My latest blog is on an alien landing that I witnessed in April of 2014. Tonight's guest is R. Keith Andrews. He joins us the first Friday of every month, and tonight being the first Friday of August, Keith is back. Welcome back, Keith.
Thank you for having me once again, and welcome back to, well, quite frankly, all of our listeners at the same time.
Joe has a question in the SOR Space Travelers, and it's not really a question from Joe. You see, Joe listens to us from a little patio that he has set up, and he has wild critters running around, and every night during the Spaced Out Radio show, he puts a critter report in the SOR Space Travelers. This time, he had a fox run right up to him. So the fox is actually asking the question, are there any space critters? Are any of them on Earth?
The answer is, yep. How's that for subtle? I'm presuming they want more than that.
Usually that's a good case, yes.
The fact is that sometimes the odd critter does get loose. Because just like humans, some of the long range vessels do bring pets. Okay, the chupacabra, for instance, didn't entirely originate here. It was a pet to start with. Problem is, it's not only one anymore. That's just a simple example of one of the more known ones, if you will. But as with everything else that comes here, it can, as for that matter, everything that goes to a different planet, they do tend to get modified as they intermix on the planet. But, there are quite a number of different bugs, different things that have gotten on the planet that weren't exactly brought. I mean, they were brought here, but not intentionally, if you will.
What about Bigfoot?
Bigfoot grew up here. It's a Gigantopithecus.
Do you think it has any special talents?
Yeah, it's called camouflage. It's just absolutely insane. But we are not talking metabolic camouflage. We are talking about the ability to hide right there in plain sight in the woods. There isn't anything abnormal about it per se. Okay, they are, quite frankly, one of the gentlest creatures that you'll ever find. On the other hand, you corner one, they're not all that gentle. But we're not dealing with off-worlders, Bigfoot, Yeti, Abominable Snowman. We're not dealing with something from another planet. We're dealing with something from our past. From this planet's past that just simply didn't evolve any further.
Let's get to a question from Tanya in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Keith has previously mentioned that experiencers need to come out with their experiences. How does he recommend one does that, specifically without the fear of being ridiculed? I don't know if I could handle it. I am so grateful for people like you, Dave and Keith. Thank you, Tanya.
That is an incredible question, and, I would love to be able to say that you can do it without the ridicule. Welcome to Earth. You open your mouth and start talking about your experiences, and I've seen it done where people have talked to who they thought were the most open-minded people that were close to them, and they ended up destroying their entire friendships, families, career, because people all of a sudden looked at them as though they had developed a third eye. And I don't mean the metaphorical one. On the flip side of that, you may end up mentioning it just in passing to a total stranger who grabs onto it with everything they've got and accepts it as a reality because they too have had their own problems, their own experience that they didn't have anybody to talk to. So the best way I can suggest it is be aware that people are not going to take it as real. Not on the whole. Even the people that claim to work in this field, to live in this field, the majority of them will automatically, sad to say, treat you as though you're some sort of a nut bar. So when you start opening up, do so in a very lighthearted fashion to, if you will, test the water. Okay? Do not make the mistake of trying to gauge whether somebody will be open-minded or not, because you're not going to be able to do it in all likelihood. Okay? I've developed the ability to sense what people are thinking and how people are going to react, and I'm not solid on exactly who's going to react properly, if you will. It still needs to be done, but you've got to be aware. And this is why it's not for everybody. You've got to be aware that there are going to be those that ridicule, those that question, those that tell you you're right off your nut. Just like tonight, and like I said, I don't take offense to it. But I believe it was Shar, but if I'm mistaken on that, my apologies. But somebody tonight asked or made the comment that they think I'm being mind controlled. Well, it's technically a possibility, except for the fact that everything that I've claimed over the years that governments were up to or that was happening in some sort of a hidden society, everything that's been proven one way or the other, I don't think I've missed yet. So if I am nuts, we do have a problem. But when you're trying to get it off your chest, when you're trying to open up, start it off in a lighthearted fashion, but don't try and gauge who's going to actually pay attention to it. They will make themselves known.
Shar has a question for you in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. Keith, are there aliens like bugs, like bug-like creatures other than the mantids?
Absolutely. There are arachnids. There are ants. And I'm using the term simply based on Terran configuration. As in what they look like on the surface. I have seen worms. Or in all fairness, legless lizards is actually closer to accurate. There are quite a number of the different, the different insects. They're not all of them have, shall we say, off-world counterparts. It's just the mantis are the most obvious, if you will. And the reason I say they're obvious is because they haven't bothered trying to hide themselves. Where it comes to the ants, they're a problem. Because mantis understand the idea of working with other communities. Ants don't. They're not even great working with each other. As far as one hive to one nest to another, if you will.
I guess she means that aliens want you to think they are good when she says that they're giving you PR or mind control.
Well, they can want me to think what they will. The reality is, you're going to be hard-pressed to convince me that Teklex on the whole, which are your 4.5 to 5.5 foot raptors, are a decent group of people on the whole. There are some that are beautiful people. But on the whole, they're some of the most vicious, self-centered, cruel individuals I've ever run into. What other race? I'm trying to think if there's another race that does it. But with the Teklex, when you go to their hatchery, the reason they have other Teklex in the hatchery is because when they're born, when they come out of the egg, Teklex will automatically start trying to break the other eggs open to kill their own kin. So they're hauled out of the hatchery right off the bat and isolated. And that's to stop them from killing themselves.
Friendly.
Oh, yeah. Real nice group of people those are.
Let's get to a question from Robert in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Would a mass consciousness event summon a craft if thousands of people focus on it?
Well, the theory would be yes, if you get a hold of the right individual. Like, if you get a hold of the right race. Because that kind of energy will absolutely get their attention because they watch for psychic spikes. Or, in all fairness, they don't look for psychic spikes, they look for mnemonic wavelengths. And if everybody is thinking on the same line, then it makes it safer to move into the area. And I mean, when you're starting to talk about thousands of people focusing on the same concept, do understand that if you've got a wavelength in there of somebody that is hiding amongst them going, I brought my gun, come on, let's have them show up. They're not going to show up because that's an anomaly in that static pattern that will warn them it's not a good move.
Let's get go ahead, please.
It's kind of along the lines of if you're trying to draw people out, if you want to get a look at somebody and the security is watching the crowd and spot somebody with a gun, you don't got to bring the guy out into the open, regardless of how many people want him to show up.
Let's get to another question here from the SOR Space Travelers Club. This comes from Joe. How come sometimes we can see UFOs and sometimes we can't? Like the odd stuff he captures in photos. Never see them until he looks at the photos.
Well, because the optic nerve, the standard human optic nerve, will try and sort out what it's looking at and will modify what it's seeing if it doesn't make sense. The camera won't. So the camera just simply takes a picture of what is there. There is no thought to try and make it make sense. It just goes, here it is. You figure out what it is later. That's literally why it happens.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that they can cloak themselves, that maybe they could cloak themselves to the human eye and not a practical lens like a camera would have.
Well, in that particular issue, that's sort of a combination of events. Because, yes, they can modify what the human eye is accepting because they have figured out how to stimulate optic nerve or how to deaden it. There are humans on this planet that can disappear while they're standing in front of you. Okay, because they figured out the technique to do it. But they can't blindside a camera.
Eric has a question in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, saying that he did an article for the Space Wire about octopuses and came out of it thinking they are both intelligent and sentient. I can't eat them anymore, he says. Have the cephalopods developed as a spacefaring race? And if so, do they resent us eating their kin?
Well, two things. Number one, yes, they have definitively developed. They are what I call the octopods, the octopedals. They have definitively developed into a spacefaring race. They are here. They are quite active in a lot of ways. As far as do they take offense to people eating octopus? No, because they're not their kin. Yes, they're octopus, but that's kind of along the same lines as, are you going, do humans have a problem with people eating monkeys over in Africa? They are distant relatives in the case of the monkey and the humans. They do have a common background. Octopi, the cephalopods from Earth, are not the spacefaring cephalopods. They look very similar, but skeletally speaking, they're actually different. Or cellularly speaking, if you will.
I've never heard you use the term skeletally before, and that's twice tonight, so where the count is at 2 right now.
Okay.
For skeletally. All right, let's get to a question from Claudia. Keith, could you just leave with the extraterrestrials and not come back if that was your request?
In my case, apparently not. Quite frankly, let's skip the issue of my family ties to this place that I have to deal with. But I have a very solid link to the planet itself that I'm just not able to walk away from. And rest assured, I have left the planet, but I keep ending up back here.
All right.
As a matter of fact, come to think of it, about 3 years ago now, I guess, I actually ended up on a battle cruiser sorting out a problem up there because, well, frankly, much as they're more advanced than us, they didn't have the, shall we say, wherewithal to pull their own ship out of a black hole. So I went up to do it. And I know what that sounds like.
That can't be fun.
Actually, it was a riot, but it was hard on the system.
Back to Eric for a minute. He's saying, what are the octopoids like? Temperament and communication with the Terrans wise?
Well, communication with Terrans is extremely difficult. As far as temperament goes, they are very... they're a very placid group. When I talk about slow moving, I don't mean that they're slow thinking. But it does take a little bit of organizing thought processes to be able to walk on 8 interchangeable feet. But they are remarkably intelligent, very quick to grasp the basics in any form of mechanical interaction. Not great on the social interaction because their method of communication has absolutely nothing to do with the way that humans communicate, or virtually nothing. They are very much, their whole communication system is done very much on a pigmentation and a subsonic, subharmonic communication line. Now, can they communicate with humans? Yes, but getting humans to be able to understand them is a royal pain in the neck because of the disparity between the cultural backgrounds. But in answer to the question, it obviously goes with that, are they in any way militaristic or combative? The answer is no, but they can defend themselves.
Do you feel then that we are in danger, or do you feel that what we don't know is still, it's way too early to try and tell what is really going on with them visiting here?
Well, are we in danger from an off-world trying to take over the planet? The answer is no. Okay. There is one race that I am aware of that, were it in this sector, yeah, we could have one heck of a problem. However, that is not going to happen in this lifetime. They are not going to get here in that time. So, does the Terran population have anything to worry about as far as a galactic war where somebody's trying to wipe out the planet or enslave all of mankind? No. People are going to worry about it anyway, but it's not a functional worry. Now, is Earth in trouble? Is mankind in trouble? Absolutely. But it's in trouble because of its own stupidity. And I do call it stupidity because it's a proven fact, and the scientists already know this. Negative energy does damage, it kills plant life. Never mind all the pollution that people just randomly throw their coffee cups, their cigarette butts, and their candy bar wrappers out the window, not to mention the food that's being dumped, right, that they won't turn over to the poor people. Never mind that. We just settle for the negative energy, the people that are out there screaming on a stage about murder this person, kill that person, rip this person off. The broadcasts that are showing everybody trying to kill everybody instead of broadcasting at least a balance point of the positive things, that is killing the planet. And the planet won't die from it, but it will react. And net result, we have an increase in tectonic, atmospheric, and hydroponic modifications taking place that are wreaking havoc on modern society. That's where the danger is coming from. It is not coming from off-world, and it's not coming from the ancient races. It's coming from man himself.
How often are you in contact?
Well, quite frankly, pretty much steady. But in all reality, if you're talking about direct, as in I'm getting information about what needs to be done or what I've got to try and figure out how to get across to humans, 2 to 3 times a week.
And when you're talking contact, are you talking just a telepathic download? Or are you talking face-to-face? Explain that to us.
That kind of depends on the day of the week. More often than not right now, because of things that have been going on in my own social life, in my own physical life, a lot of it has been done by telepathic communication. People call it a download, and a download applies when it's one way. Okay. In my case, it doesn't go just one way. But roughly speaking, I'm going at least once every 2 weeks where I'm physically disappearing off the map. Now, is this done where I've got people going, oh my gosh, he's missing, let's call the cops? No, I've been at this way too long. So getting off the planet is actually not as hard as you might think.
We got time for one more question from Bruce. He's asking, how do they defend themselves without combat?
Oh, I didn't say they won't. It's not a question of they don't do it without combat. It's a question of they will do their level best not to bother fighting. If they have to combat, frankly, they are really good at sonic weaponry and at the hydrolyzed weaponry. They have a cute little weapon that will break down the outer cell structure of a physical entity. So when you take a look at a person, for instance, if you all of a sudden break down the the cell walls, the person collapses into a puddle, and that's the end of their fight. This is one of the reasons why I keep telling people, if it's going to be a war between Terrans and Offworlders, this is not going to be a fight that mankind is going to win. Thank heavens, in their case, they're far more interested in studying the local flora and fauna than they are in starting an intergalactic war. They are curious, but they're certainly not aggressive.
And on that note, we're going to hop out for a break here, our final break of the night. R. Keith Andrews is our guest. He's our resident ET expert. The ET Experience happens the first Friday of every month. The next appearance of Keith will be Friday, September 2nd. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back right after this.
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back to the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we've rounded third. We are headed for home on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. I am disappearing right after the show. I am going to be finding my zen, my chi, when it comes to trying to relax, chill out, and enjoy a good time for the weekend. Uncle Jimbo, James Tyson, and Elizabeth Anglin are back in here for Spaced Out Weekend, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Saturday and Sunday night. Check them out. They are a fantastic show, and you definitely want to stick with us as we do this thing 7 days a week. Reminder, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, I can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, you could sign up for the SOR Space Travelers Club. It's only $5 a month. With that, you get private access to a special section on our website. You also get your name put into monthly prize draws and so much more. Hey, unlike the other guys, we're giving you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. You can also check out our recent blogs. They get updated weekly. My latest blog is on a UFO landing I saw last week. You can comment on that. Also, you can check out our music site, which is all Bumblefoot all the time. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, the official music of Spaced Out Radio, formerly of Guns N' Roses. He is the man, the myth, the guitar god legend. Check him out today. And the SOR Space Wire, our news director Eric Markham has some great stories posted on a daily basis. Everything at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with R. Keith Andrews for the final time tonight. He is our resident ET expert. He joins us the first Friday of every month. His next appearance will be on Friday, September. Man, September already. Think about that. September 2nd. Keith, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, not a problem. That's what we like to do here every now and again. You know.
Well, you brought up the second, and something just dawned on me, which ought to make that entertaining as all get out.
Oh, fun times. Hey, let's get to a question from Eric here. Keith, how prevalent is music as we think of it amongst extraterrestrials?
Actually, about as prevalent as it is to humans. Music is a universal language that does help calm people. And when I talk about people, I mean all people. Every race has their own way of doing music. Different instruments, different likes, different dislikes. But the concept of music is very much a prevalent issue in every culture. At least everyone I've run into. Because the ones that have lost music have stagnated.
Stagnated how?
They stop evolving. Ultimately, when you stop music, music is one of the easiest ways of communicating emotion. Okay, other than getting mad and beating the heck out of somebody. So when people lose the ability, and like I said, I use the term people to refer to all races. When they lose the ability to communicate, to create music, they also lose the ability to communicate, period, because they are intertwined. Some people think of music in terms of, most people seem to think of music in terms of sitting down with an instrument. And most of the time that applies quite well. But with some races, music is the sound that is made when a gossamer wing goes through a heavy mist particle. It creates a different sound. Okay. Or it creates a different color. And yes, color does have a sound, it does have a texture, it does have a smell. But the concept of music is universal.
Let's get to another question from Shar. Could you stop contact if you wanted to?
Well, technically the answer would be yes. But given that I've spent the greater portion of my existence working with different races and trying to get them to get along, trying to help them understand each other, I can't see that being a viable thought process.
I just had a message from Everett, one of our listeners. He says, sorry to bug you, but I was wondering if you have heard anything about a light hovering over LAX, which is Los Angeles International Airport, in the last hour. He's had a couple of people ask him about it, but nothing has hit the web yet. So if any of our listeners have heard or seen anything like that, quickly send me a message, whether it's on social media or in one of our chat rooms. That would be absolutely fantastic. Thanks, Everett, for tipping us off about that. Let's get to a question from Tanya in the SOR Space Travelers Club. In one of her recent experiences, she was told by a human-looking alien that she didn't need to be afraid of the Greys, that they had changed a lot, and that she wouldn't recognize them if she saw them now. She got the impression that the alien meant that the Greys evolved. Have you heard anything about this, Keith?
Well, they are evolving, but to the point of massive skeletal modification, frankly, no. There are certainly differences, and what he may be referring to, though, come to think of it, is the hybridization process. Because of the evolution of the hybridization process, the hybrids actually look far more human than they ever did. And that I have heard of. But the Greys themselves, the actual race, no. But they are using more and more of the hybrids to interact, to do their communication lines, because humans are still caught up with this idea of if you look different, you've got to be a devil. Or something to that effect.
Let's get to another question here, because I want to try and get all these questions in here. Eric is asking, are there many races that display what we call here synesthesia, like hearing colors or smelling words?
Many races, no, but there are a few that do actually, that is exactly how they communicate. Somebody asked me a while back, or somebody asked in the chat room a while back, if I've got a race that I specifically deal with, and that would be the Srazazians. And they do have a method of using color to communicate. They've got a color band around their throat that they actually use to communicate when the wind is too high to bother trying to talk. Okay. The fairy folk, which originated on Earth, they are one of what I call, they are quite literally the primary original race here. And they do hear color. They do smell. They do smell color. They can taste texture. Their senses are something bizarre as far as humans are concerned. But this is not a common thing by any stretch.
Let's get to another question here from Claudia. Keith, do you have a favorite race to communicate with? If so, who are they? Can you request just to communicate with them? And will they protect you from aggressive races?
Well, the answer to all of the above is this. The race I primarily deal with, that I've dealt with for the longest this lifetime, would be the Srzazians, which are your 7.5 to 8.5 foot, very military-based reptiles. Okay, very honor-bound. And could I ask to only communicate with them? Absolutely. However, as I stated a little earlier, the problem with that is that I've spent lifetimes working with every race I can get my hands on to try and get them to understand that they're all the same. They all belong working together. They're all part of the same issue. As far as will they step in to protect me from aggressive races? Absolutely. They're the ones that were responsible for my even surviving after what humans did to me. They're the ones that stepped in and put me back together. They're also the ones that actually solved the problem I was having dealing with the ants.
Let's get to another question here. Tanya again. Keith, have you ever heard about the Greys evolving to a better race? Could they be? Any of them?
Well, technically they could be. And much like humans, they are certainly evolving. But we're talking about the mental side of them evolving. And because of proximity to a higher gravity and what have you, they're certainly getting a little different. But the backbone of them is still the same thing. Now, as far as it being a better race, anytime a race evolves to more of a socially responsible race, especially interracial, in my eyes, this puts them into the category of being better. And they are the ones that evolved, that actually developed the technology and perfected the technology for the hybridization program that all of the races are using.
Eric is asking, oh, pardon me, I already asked that question, so let's move on from that one. I have a question for you, Keith, if you don't mind. I'd like to take a turn.
Okay, and then I'm going to get to Char's question around the mantis.
Okay. When it comes to you having personal communication, and it happens weekly, according to you, obviously they are monitoring what we do on a daily basis here. Have you ever had a conversation with a species that has explained to you what they think of the... I hate to use the word discriminatory, but I'm going to use that at this point. The discriminatory ways that we look at them through the media, such as the media making fun of extraterrestrials. We look at Hollywood, the way extraterrestrials, for the most part, are always put in a negative light, and how Hollywood spins things. Example, Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton, because that is not what happened to him. Yet people believe that he had some pretty heinous and horrid things happen to him while he was taken. And he's come out years later and said, no, that's Hollywood. That's not the truth as to what happened to me. So have you ever communicated about their feelings towards the way we are portraying extraterrestrials?
Absolutely. And the primary one that I really ended up in a long conversation with was a group I call the Watchers. And that's literally what they do. They watch. They take notes. They record information, but they don't interfere at all. And this isn't a. We're not talking about being against their religion or against their prime directive. It's against their being. It's like humans don't go underwater and breathe water because they just don't do it. Okay. And ultimately what it boils down to is this. they are actually happier, if you can use that word, that mankind is using aliens instead of different nationalities as their primary protagonists. The reason for it is because the human race is still it's a fledgling race. It is still very aggressive. But the only way that aggression can be focused in a functional fashion when you have an aggressive child is to give it a common enemy that is not one of its own. So using a different race in a movie to say, look, we can work together, they feel is actually a good thing. And it is a marked evolution from what they were doing even 30 years ago. So are they happy with it? Well, I guess technically, but it is, in their eyes, it's very much a necessary evolutionary process.
No, I understand that, though, but if they're looking at Hollywood and seeing how Hollywood has portrayed extraterrestrials in an extremely negative light, I would say there would be cause for concern.
Not in the slightest. You got to understand something about their perspective on these movies. If you're going to have somebody get aggressive, okay, and you're going to get them to focus, having them focus on a race that they can't get to, that they just don't have the capability of getting to, it's kind of like getting mad at the mountain for standing in front of you. You can be as mad at the mountain as you want. You can beat on it until the end of time. You're not going to do a whole lot of damage to it. Okay. It is so much better in their eyes that Hollywood does that. The other side of it is the local media touts Hollywood as movies. It constantly repeats to its population, to its viewers, we are entertainment. Okay? We are a movie. We are make-believe. This actor played in this movie. He died, and here he is again. And we know humans, when they die, they die. Okay? So the watchers look at it and go, the people in Hollywood are telling you this is a movie. Okay, this is entertainment. So they're not looking down on Hollywood, but they do question the intelligence of the humans that are going, this is reality. But if they're going to look at it that way, the off-worlders simply look at it and go, if you're going to be mad at somebody, absolutely be mad at somebody you can't get to, and quit beating up on your own kids.
Very understandable. Let's get to another couple questions. Shar is asking, are there any real videos out there of extraterrestrials that have been caught on film?
Yep. Unfortunately, the government has submerged 99% of them. See, there is one that I saw that is very much, it was actually put on Facebook a little while back by Charles Stansberg, who is the Texas section director for MUFON. And he put one on, he actually posted one that is a real picture of a real UFO. And it got quite the reaction. But do they exist? The answer is absolutely yes. But I will tell you, they're hard to find. And before anybody comes up with that little question, no, I am not an expert in video, so I'm not the one to ask, is this video absolutely real or was it dubbed? I can tell you if it's based on real, but I certainly do not have the background to tell you if it is real. One real quick little point, because I did make the comment that I wanted to get to this. Tanya asked if, was it Tanya?
Shar, I believe.
Shar. Yeah. Shar asked about whether the mantis that we see, that the off-world mantis, is any relation to the Terran mantis, and the answer is no. We call them mantis because they look very similar on the surface, but the skeletal configuration on the inside and the musculature is a whole lot different, as is the attitude. One of the biggest differences when you think about it, when you look at it, is actually in the mating process. With the Terran mantis, they kill their partner. With the off-worlders, they will defend their partner against whatever odds they have to. But they have the other big issue is, if you go back far enough in time, I'm sure you can find some sort of a similarity. But the off-world mantis didn't evolve on Earth.
Another question from Mario. Keith, how do you know all of the... How do these alien races deal with artificial intelligence superiority or black goo infestation?
Well, artificial intelligence superiority is very easy to solve. If it's an artificial intelligence and it gets a superiority complex, nothing like a good old-fashioned shot of either molecular disassociation or hyperextension on the electromagnetic wavelength, and it cures the problem. They don't have this idea of, it's an artificial intelligence and it's a threat. If it becomes a threat, they terminate it before it becomes any sort of a threat. Where it comes to the black goo, frankly, it's another race, and if it's getting into your machinery, it needs to be dealt with, but it can be communicated with. It's one of the amoeboid type.
What is the black goo?
Basically, it's an amoeboid, meaning it is a non-structured entity. Non-physically structured. So it doesn't have a skeletal form. It doesn't have a definitive, this is what it looks like. It's a mass of cells that can self-modulate.
Where is that stuff popping up? Because I've heard a lot about that recently.
In all fairness, I'm not entirely certain where it's popping up on Earth. But I do know it's been a problem, and it's not so much it pops up as it coalesces.
Mm-hmm.
Because the black goo is a colony. The bigger the puddle, the bigger the colony.
Very interesting. How would you recommend someone getting in contact with an extraterrestrial?
Well, first rule of thumb, you don't do it going, I don't care what type of extraterrestrial I get, I just want an interaction. But the issue of how to get in touch with them, quite frankly, it really boils down to who they want to get in touch with. But the more open you are, the more vocal you are about it. If you're not from a bloodline that's already been taken, because it's a very well known fact that these guys, regardless of which race, track bloodlines. The scientists do track bloodlines. That's the only way you can follow an evolutionary strain, is watch it one generation to the next. But if you're trying to break into it, it really boils down to making it not just in your own head, but the more publicly aware the society is, the more people know that you are looking at this question with an open mind. Not with this issue of, I want to hang one on my wall, or I want to experience it to prove it's real. If that's your reason, you ain't going to see them. They do not do the sideshow thing very well. And the ones that do the sideshow thing, you really don't want them to pick you up.
Claudia has a question here. We got a couple more questions that we have to figure out here. We got about 3 minutes left. Since extraterrestrials cannot interfere with what happens here on Earth, what is their purpose to have communication with us? Is it to raise our consciousness so we do not kill them or ourselves?
Well, first of all, they can actually interfere, if you will. They don't. They're not to, where the doctrine is that they are not to alter the evolution of the planet. Okay, they can interfere as in give information and say, here's how to work with it. But unfortunately, they're having trouble finding the people that will actually pass that information on. Okay, but some of them are here to enhance the spiritual understanding. More often than not, they're here to get people to cooperate with each other because mankind has already left the planet. So yes, there is this self-preservation thing. You don't want a bunch of people pushing buttons on a starship that has the capacity of breaking planets. So people have to realize just because they got bigger toys does not mean that you just go pushing buttons.
Eric is asking, it is a reference to nanotechnology. Is it going out of control?
Try that again?
Is nanotechnology going out of control?
Well, absolutely, because they're not programming it right. And it will come back to bite them. However, it isn't something that a good old-fashioned EMP pulse won't solve.
Okay. And let's get to Claudia's question. Do ETs use subliminal messages to pass information to us?
Absolutely. But not in the way that... it's more... when we talk about subliminal, we are not talking about radio broadcasting. Okay, which is what humans do. We are talking about subliminal as in when they take somebody, depending on the race... Some of their actions are designed to enhance the concept that they're not actually a dangerous issue. You know, they're not trying to wipe people out. They're trying to get people to start protecting the planet they live on.
Final question goes to Joe, Mr. Allgaier. And if you ever see him, he's got a great set of hair. He's got really nice hair. I'm actually kind of jealous. His question is, do extraterrestrials ever just jump ship from their races and go run away from their ships and live on Earth or other planets to get away from it all?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are, as the saying goes, there are some in every bunch. The Teklaks are a prime example of a group that did not agree with what their race was doing and started a civil war as a side effect. But there are absolutely ones that jump ship and disappear off the map onto either Earth or some other planet because they just don't want to deal with it. It's very much like humans that jump ship and disappear off the grid because they don't want to deal with the stupidity anymore.
And on that note, Mr. R. Keith Andrews, we're going to wrap this thing up tonight. How you doing? Thank you. And I appreciate you taking your time, man.
Thank you so much for having me again, and thanks very much to the great questions from the audience.
And we will do it again with you on Friday, September 2nd.
Well, that's going to be a fun one because, quite frankly, at that point, I'm going to be over in Portland, Maine, so we're going to have to figure out how to pull that off.
Well, you've got a phone. I'll call you there.
Okay.
You know what? That'll be a lot of fun. Let's try and line up a couple people to join us on the phone that night. We can maybe take that in a different direction. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will see what we can do on that.
All right, Mr. Keith, you have yourself a great night. We'll talk to you very soon.
Absolutely. You too.
And the rest of you out there, thank you for another fantastic week on Spaced Out Radio. Spaced Out Weekend with James and Elizabeth comes in to play tomorrow night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, tomorrow night and Sunday at spacedoutradio.com. Thank you so much to everyone who participated in the SOR chat room on Facebook, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room on Spreaker, and everywhere else you were tuning in. It's been a fantastic week. I will be back on Monday. Power Show, Anthony Sanchez will join us. We're going to talk about what is happening in Dulce, New Mexico. I'm looking forward to that one. I've wanted to do that show for a long, long time. Hey, right now we only have 4 dates left to book for the month of September, and then September is wrapped up, and then we're focusing in on October. Wow, it's moving quick. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can find all of our archives on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show as well. Don't forget, our website is spacedoutradio.com. You can find all of our great features there. A lot of hard work goes into that. Do me a favor. Tell a friend about this show. If they're into it, tell them. Mr. Bumblefoot, Ron THAL, is going to take us home tonight. Have a good one. Good night.